Thank you. Thank you, sisters and brothers from all over the world. I'm your sister from India, one of the world's largest democracy, of 1.5 billion people. I became the first woman in India to join the officer ranks of the Indian Police Service way back in 1972. It was the reason. I want to thank Maryam Rajavi for a wonderful opportunity. It's a very rare privilege for me to come all the way to experience what you've experienced. The experience, the fight and the struggle you're going through. As a police officer of former times, I want to salute you and salute the entire movement. Salute you completely and pray that Lord and God gives you all the strength to win. To win. I think it's you got to win. That's what we all pray for, that one day you win and you win for the women of the world. That's our prayer. That's what I would like to see before I fully retire in my life. I have 3 points, a few points to share. I see a huge energy. I have a few questions which came to my mind while listening to all of you. And those are, how do we stay united now? Now that we've come together, and we're repeatedly coming together, such a colossal energy generated, how do we stay together? I think that's a real challenge. How do we stay connected? I think that's my first question. And before we dissolve, we must answer this, because we must stay connected with each other. I think that's the first question which came to my mind. Secondly, having worked with the United Nations myself, how do we as a power force, how do we a power force of women energy compel United Nations to perform? We must compel United Nations to perform. United Nations can perform. Probably it's underperforming in our case. Therefore, how do we make United Nations perform? The Secretary General's Office, the UN Women, the Human Rights Commission, the Refugees Commission, the Security Council. How do we make them perform? Because to get rid of mullahs in power and authority is not an easy task. Therefore, we need to garner all other agencies which are responsible for helping us, which are responsible for staying back, which are there for us. How do we make them perform? Which means the coming 8th March, how do we ensure that there is a huge pressure on the United Nations to listen to this movement and to finally come out with a statement of what they plan to do? The third is, how do we deploy our world's media to write about us? I do not know whether this is making BBC and CNN news today. If it isn't, it's a shame. If it isn't, it's a shame. This must make world news today. If it isn't, then I think we mark them absent. We let them know you're absent if you don't cover us today. I think it's a cry for women of this world. Do you know, when I was told by Pearl, and it was a part of the document, that a stepfather in Iran can marry a stepdaughter, I can't just still get over it. It just doesn't get over it. You can't imagine how angry I am within. Therefore, something like this should have made world news. That this is what's happening in Iran, and then the entire world women take notice of it and condemn this, and to say we condemn Iran for that. I think that's a very, very vital point. My next point is, how do we use technology to the best of our ability? I understand that there are limitations of internet use for women in Iran. How do they get access? They get caught, they would be punished. But how do we make sure somehow or the other the messages continue to reach out to Iran? And fifth, I was looking at a Twitter account, a Facebook account, which brings us all together, which is 1 billion women. If we have a population of 7 billion, and if which half the population is about 3.5 billion, at least we should have a Twitter account which is followed by 1 billion women. But the fact is, we need to address this. If they can go about having sanctions on nuclear energy, why can't they have sanctions against Iran on these issues where women's lives are being ruined? Women's lives are being... Why can't we have sanctions? Why isn't women and women's rights as serious as nuclear energy? I think these are the few things I thought I would raise these. How do we stay united? How do we now convert this convergence into huge worldwide energy? How do we become 1 billion people? How do we become 1 billion voice? How do we use technology? I think this is a very rare, it's a huge, colossal effort. I want to thank and admire this National Council of Resistance of Iran. I think it's time now to unite and go behind this woman to see one day she succeeds very soon. Thank you very much.